What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about Season 2 in Diablo 4, what I want to see. This is kind of a wish list, but also I want to go ahead and start off the video by mentioning what Season 1 did wrong, and hopefully they can use this as some feedback. As a Diablo partner, I will be giving them definitely a lot of feedback on Season 1, as I don't believe that it has enough of a life cycle, meaning this is supposed to last us 3 months. We just got the major patch, and I've been playing on it, and honestly, I still think that it is very underwhelming for one of the top action RPGs to sit there at a score if we're looking at Metacritic right now, and it really came down to the nerfs. But looking at this just makes me super disappointed to see that one of the most iconic action RPGs has a Metacritic score of 2. Now realistically it's not a 2, but a lot of people are very disappointed with Season 1. They needed to come out swinging with this giant update specifically for the end game. I think realistically the early game, the campaign, is done relatively well, but the end game, which is kind of what you're playing seasons for, really suffers from a lack of diversity as well as just content in general. I was checking out just the stats over on Twitch, and well, the best way to find out how many people are playing the game is to get the raw numbers. Well, Blizzard doesn't publicly officially show any of the players that are playing the game, and it's normal to have any action RPG start off really good, and then it kind of just goes off as the season kind of ends. But the thing is that this game needs to retain players as it's a game as a service. If it was to release as like Diablo 3, where the only source of revenue, and it's not supposed to be a games as a service where there's no battle pass, there's not cosmetic skins that just come out frequently, you need to be able to retain your players a lot better, and I think there's a lot of mistakes in Season 1 that I wanted to go ahead and address at the start of this video. So it's normal, by the way, to look at any action RPG, like look at the Path of Exile. Without the announcement, it obviously gives a huge spike when they are announcing PoE 2, but if we go like further back to like PoE over here, this is basically all the spikes or when the season starts, because I know a lot of people have the mindset of, oh, Diablo's dead because the amount of players that are streaming the game, and on top of that the view count is a lot less, and that happens with just any video game in general. But with action RPGs, there's always a spike on a return during the new season because there's a lot more content, and that's why people come back to action RPGs in general. So it's kind of a normal thing to not see the same amount of people at the start of a season compared to the end. Just wanted to go ahead and mention that, just because this is Path of Exile before we were looking at Diablo, and I just wanted to mention that like it's a normal thing in action RPGs. So starting right off, what did they promise us with this season over here? So what they go ahead and start off with is there's like this 7 chapters of this seasonal challenges, and it sounds really big, but honestly the season rewards, well, you open it up and it's just like a rare ring. And these seasonal challenges, especially towards the very end when you're getting these titles, these need to be way better. The battle pass to hit tier 100 needs to have some epic thing. Okay, what would be on the same lines of an epic thing? I don't know, select any Uber unique, select a Shaco, I don't know. These kind of things will make the player actually play through the whole season. You want them to hit that tier 100. That needs to be the awesome thing. The awesome thing cannot just be the cosmetics. I mean, realistically, the cosmetics, some of them are kind of cool and you get some of them for free, but if you want people to go ahead and get the battle pass and buy the tiers, the end thing needs to be really good. Now, obviously they don't want to sell power, which I think is a good thing, but it would be cool to get some sort of like really awesome reward at the very end, not just like a, title that you can put on your character, which is literally just text, right? And then on top of that, the earning favor for more XP, and then you can get basically higher chances to drop the Wrathful Hearts. But once you get the Barber, that's really it. Like, we'll talk more about like realistically how this is actually played out. So there's all these seasonal challenges, but they're very weak. In terms of the earning favor, they nerfed the XP already because they made the monster stronger, although they added more density recently, so there's more XP. And then on top of that, you can progress the battle pass and you can get more XP. But again, they've already nerfed the XP because of the way the game works now. But on top of that, the Malignant Hearts, it was a cool system. I think legitimately, I don't really want to criticize them too much for the hearts. I think it'd be much cooler if all the hearts were generic, because some people only play one class per season because it takes a really, really long time to level up. It's relatively unrealistic to expect your average player to go through all 5 classes and experience all of the cool hearts. I think that these should have all been designed to be different. Now, as far as the aspects, there are new aspects. There's like 2 of them that are kind of viable. There's like 2 new unique items that are viable, specifically the Necromancer one's kind of cool. And then the whole new boss battle. The boss battle is an absolute face roll. It is not on the level of a pinnacle boss, a boss that you farm that has rewards proportional to an insane difficulty, kind of like the Uber Lilith boss fight that has a really cool, boss fight, but the rewards just simply aren't there, other than, of course, getting the title. And then on top of that, in terms of the brand new patch that just came out, we've already played on the patch, although this gameplay is just me just farming renown. The Nightmare Dungeons will have more density. There's going to be better drop rates for doing a level 35 plus boss. It's always going to guarantee you a legendary item. And this is moving more in the Diablo 3 areas of just more legendaries, okay? And I don't think that that necessarily is the direction that I would see the game going in terms of a progression for a season update. Just to give us more legendaries doesn't fix the core problems of the amount of time wasted when you're just sitting there untying enemies in the Nightmare Dungeon. The Nightmare Dungeons are the focus core part of the end game experience because it's the only way that you can level up glyphs, which is another thing that takes way too long, which I'll get into when I talk about my wish list here. But anyways, as far as the goblins go, yeah, they can drop legendary guaranteed at level 15 plus. Not that big of a deal. They are kind of fixing the uniques, and I say kind of because there may be some that are kind of viable. We're just in the first day, so maybe someone will discover some crazy new build. But for the most part, a lot of these uniques are pretty terrible, even with these newer changes. It's just like, if you go to any, like, you know, content creator that understands Diablo, they're going to look at some of these items and go, oh, okay, whatever, Wind Force is still memes. They need to make these uniques actually viable. I've been trying to give them feedback, and hopefully as a Diablo partner, we can get some of these suggestions and actually get them in the game, because a lot of these uniques are still going to be just terrible. They're just not going to be used. Now, as far as the Malignant Hearts go, in terms of giving them feedback, I think that in terms of having these class-specific effects, I think these need to be all generic. So moving into the future, when they have any cool things, okay, I'm not saying every single legendary, but some of these items that literally just can be socketed in that just pull enemies, or they can activate a slow or activate a knockdown. It'd be cool to see these on all classes, because that would actually open up the doors to more build diversity, which is something that they mentioned they did want on the campfire versus having some niche things. Again, if I was to play Diablo 3, I can make every single class and hit max level, no problem, especially with the way that the Paragon is designed versus this game. The glyphs and you can't share your gems like you can in Diablo 3. It makes it a lot more difficult to make alts. So I think that that would be a great suggestion. Another thing is in terms of the campaign, the whole thing is 1 hour long. I have both, I cut it up in 2 parts. The whole campaign is 2 hours. I'm sorry, 2 hours at the most if you're really slow. I mean, I did this in about 1 hour in total in terms of like the season quest time that has the voice acting. I didn't skip any of it. It's only 1 hour long, so maybe 1 to 2 days, 1 to 2 hours on an average playthrough, you can finish it. It's way too short in my personal opinion, but at the end of the day, we have to have some sort of gameplay loop that keeps us interested in the end game. As far as the aspects go, I'm talking now more about realisticness. All these aspects, they should have just been generic ones that you can equip on all the characters versus like, okay, there's just basically one new item for every character class, and on top of that, the uniques are kind of in the same boat where, I mean, they even made another uber unique, which, yeah, you're just not going to get it. I think there needs to be a better way to get these uber uniques, and it has to be part of maybe the progression to, you know, getting tier 100. Maybe once you hit tier 100 on the seasonal journey on the battle pass, you can start getting realistically like good drops, because once you hit level 100, like, it's kind of hard to figure out what you can actually do in the game, because a lot of stuff that you farm, you won't be able to trade anyways, especially if you look at like uniques, even though they're trying to buff them. As far as like the changes on 1.1.1, I mean, a lot of these are so small. I mean, if we just go even looking at some of the classes over here, I mean, they are making some steps in the right direction. Like Sorceress class was a little bit weaker. That, look at this, like 2% here, 1% here, 1% here, 1% here, 1% here. All of these small things will add up, okay? I get that. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of all the people that were super upset that gave the game a 2. Are they going to look at this new patch on 1.1.1 and go, wow, dude, they've increased this by 1%? It would be much better to say overall Sorceress gets a 20% boost, because if you put these numbers, I understand it adds up, but if they were just like Sorceress 20% more damage and they take 20% less damage and they have an easier way to apply vulnerability, then you get players a little bit more excited. But overall, I don't think it's going to be making players that are like super upset with, you know, this season with all the nerfs to come back into the game and be super excited to play, even with this giant mega patch. It's probably the last patch that we're gonna get for season 1. Remember, guys, this patch came out on July 20th, and it's supposed to last until about October, because we know the battle pass ends around that time. So we have to kind of think about, can you realistically play this game for 3 months? I haven't even been grinding that much, and I feel relatively burnt out. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 2 Resurrected, as well as Diablo 1 on my streams more recently, and we'll probably jump into Baldur's Gate pretty soon here. But at the end of the day, I cannot play this game, even as a Diablo content creator, and have a really good experience the whole time, feeling like, man, I'm getting so much awesome new content to go ahead and show off throughout this 3-month life cycle. There needs to be more either updates, or the actual season needs to be engaging enough to where I can sit there and play for a long time. It's realistically right now, at the end of the day, you get the Barber, you get the Revenge, and then that's it. there's not really any huge other power spike, because once you hit level 70, you grab the barber and you're only getting the same items that you were getting in season 0. Like, there's no huge sense of progression over here. I would love to see new skills. This is kind of my wish list now going into season 2. I want to see new skills in the game. It doesn't even have to be like one skill for every class. Just put 5 new skills in the game that any class can equip. That would be much more exciting. A separate new seasonal skill tree. This would be exciting. And I think it would be really cool to see class skills from one class be able to be transferred. Rune words. I'm talking big changes to make people be able to play for that set amount of time. Where is World Tier 5? Where are the new gems that were announced? And I even want to say that these new gems, it's just a number thing, right? How hard is it to implement this to give us a small little increase of maybe like 5% power by just upgrading little gems over here? I think that should have came out too, because like gems are kind of worthless in the game once you get towards the end. You sock it in your emeralds, maybe you throw in rubies, topazes. Now you don't even need skulls because of the wrathful hearts, or just the hearts in general. You need a little bit more content here in terms of the gems. I think that it'd be cool to see the legendary gems from Diablo 3 make a return, although I want to say they could be a little bit more interesting than numerical number changes. So I'd really like to see some sort of cool mechanic with the gems in the future. But also, yeah, where's World Tier 5? You're getting, basically, you're farming to get the same items that you had in Season 0, right? It needs to be a boost of power. That's why power creep exists in action RPGs. You need to make the player feel like it was worth hopping into the season, not just doing the same stuff. Renown, this is my other thing that I want removed in the next upcoming season for my wish list of season 2. Renown should just be removed. I just find it to be not fun. It's not fun to go talk to the NPC and hit skip, 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 and then you get to the objective, skip, skip, skip. Like, that's what you're doing, right? Because you've already experienced it in season 0. Why are you having to farm the Renown multiple times? I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it's just to pad, the amount of time that we're spending in the game, but it's not fun. Make it fun and enjoyable. Make it so people want to make multiple different classes here, and I think you have a much better season overall experience, not only for the players, but that's also going to increase your retention rate. Making the players being able to level up the glyphs and go faster only makes the players that care about your game to go ahead and play more characters, to maybe look at the skins for all the classes, because as of right now, you're only really playing one class. So basically, you have all these other classes where a lot of players will never experience, and they're never going to go buy a skin for a class that they're not playing, right? The glyph leveling experience is horrendous. I think that we need to stop just doing nightmare dungeons. There needs to be another way to level up glyphs, or make this glyph experience like 10 times faster so we can experience the giant open world in the game. In fact, I want PvP to be a kind of a thing. I'll briefly touch up upon that, but there needs to be some sort of pinnacle boss at the very end. A new season, a new boss. They showed up Varshan. They kind of hinted that he was going to be a boss, and he was a boss, but he was a face roll. I mean, I did it my first time, didn't even really see the mechanics, and I kind of just tanked it. No problem. But I think that there could be better Uber bosses, and this is the Ubers from Diablo 3, but I want them to be on the same level as Lilith, but they also need to drop rewards proportional to the difficulty. So basically, again, some crazy new maybe cosmetic could be achieved, or I think it would be really cool to have like a very powerful item drop. This could have been like a guaranteed one of the Wrathful Hearts when you fight Varshan, but he needs to be way more difficult, and this is how you would get the thing. It's part of building your character to be strong enough to combat the brand new giant season mechanic at the very end, because the season mechanic is very weak, activating these invokers, and you never get any of the Wrathful invokers to go ahead and open up this. The drop rate is just simply way too low on the Wrathful Hearts, and that's why everyone's been doing the thing where you kind of reset the campaign. But what are you doing in terms of the seasonal mechanic, right? I mean, all you do is you kill the boss, or that's supposed to be the malignant monster. You kill it, and then you have to click on the heart, and you sit there and you wait for 5 seconds, and then you kill the same exact monster you already killed, which was a face roll. I mean, this is me at level 5 killing it, and it's absolute face roll. And obviously at higher levels is an even easier thing to go ahead and do. So I think that this could have been much more difficult. The malignant monsters don't feel like they are powerful enough to actually make a difference. And right now in PvP, there's just not enough players in PvP. I think that they need to have some sort of system where you do a 1v1 or 2v2. Because if we're talking about daily active users and retention rate, PvP is a great way for people to keep on coming back into the game. Maybe you do PvP, and at the very end, there's a giant reward. There's a chest that has obols or something at the very end. Or maybe you can throw in gold and you can basically wager. You can bet on players. This would be another form of spectating. It'd make it it much more exciting to have some sort of PvP battles, I would suggest them to do 1v1s and 2v2s, and you can party up, and there's some sort of reward, because if you do the PvP in the airs, sometimes it is absolutely just dry. 0 players in PvP. I'll sit there for 20 minutes looking around. No one is doing PvP, but it's weird because to do PvP, it's part of one of the seasonal quest lines to actually kill another player in PvP. So it's very weird that, they're trying to get us to do PvP, but the rewards after, you just finish that one thing, there's no point of going back, right? So you need to make PvP a little bit more rewarding. Maybe you can upgrade glyphs there. Maybe there's a chance a Shaco can drop there, or you need to basically entice players to do PvP. So there's an actual PvP community, because it's a big part of any game's progression. And also even just thinking about in general the progression of like the hearts. It's basically you either get the Barber, Wrathful Heart, or you're not really getting any sorts of progression. The thing that Path of Exile did relatively well is on Crucible, you have kind of some sort of progression in your Crucible tree that you can like get these weapons and you can start getting upgrades, and they have a really good progression because you have to put XP into it, and your character actually gets kind of stronger as it goes along, right? Where it's like in Diablo with the season, it's like, do you have the Wrathful Heart? Do you have the Barber? No. Okay, well, you just get the Barber, and then you'll be able to be super good in the game. That's kind of how it works right now. So basically, at the end of the day, to kind of sum up what I want to see, I want to see an epic, like, giant pinnacle boss. I want to see better rewards in the game, and on top of that, the life cycle of the game could be much better. We need to be able to get Word Tier 5, or basically get some sort of itemization progression, versus we're farming for basically the same thing that we had already in Season 0. That doesn't feel good, especially because it's kind of a slog just to level up. But anyways, that's kind of my wish list. So yeah, definitely remove the Renown, and then on top of that, we need some more tools to play around with. So it'd be cool to see new skills for every single class, or rune words, or skills from other classes can be transferred over. We need some crazy mechanic versus kill the boss, or kill the malignant monster. Okay, click on it. Okay, wait. Okay, click on it again, and then we kill him, and then we get an item, and it's either you get the item or you don't. And once you get the Barber, there really isn't any other thing to shoot for, and it's not even like so rare that it's like on the level of Shaco, so you'll get it relatively fast. And then I think Purple burnout of the season once they hit like 70, 80, and they might not push to 100, but the thing is, remember, this is a 3-month cycle. This is games as a service, so it needs to retain a higher retention rate. Anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here and you do want to see more content, subscribe to the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. I'd love to know your thoughts down below.